The next big thing has arrived. We're speaking about the Galaxy S5, of course. This is Victor with Phone Arena, and we'll be comparing the S5 against its predecessor, last year's Samsung Galaxy S4. Which one is the better handset and which one should you choose? Let's find out. After an S4 that was almost identical to its predecessor this year, with the Galaxy S5, different has arrived. Samsung's 2014 flagship is still made out of plastic, but its looks have changed. The S5 features a dimpled soft touch plastic back that feels nice to touch, and it also arrives in a variety of fresh colors right out the gate. In terms of size though, the S4 was a more or less compact 5-inch phone, while the same cannot be said about the Galaxy S5. Samsung's newest Galaxy is not gigantic, but it's not compact either. It has actually grown bigger in all aspects. It's wider, taller, thicker and heavier. Samsung has traded compactness for one new feature. The S5 is now dust protected and can withstand being submerged in water of up to 3 feet for as long as 30 minutes. Don't forget to close the lid on the bottom of the phone though. If it's not closed, the phone is not water sealed. In terms of buttons, the Galaxy S5 retains a signature for Samsung physical home key below the display and a back-end multitasking button around it. Just as on the S4, there is also a lock key on the right and a volume rocker on the left, all equally clicky and easy to press on both the S4 and S5. Both devices also feature infrared transmitters located on the top, a feature that allows you to use the phone as a remote control for your TV. However, the S5 also adds two new elements over the S4, a fingerprint scanner and a heart rate monitor. The fingerprint scanner can be used to securely unlock the device, lock files with the new private mode, and even authorize payments via PayPal. It's a bit more fiddly than the iPhone 5s finger reader. It requires you to swipe from the bottom of the screen and through the home key, but after playing with it for a while you get used to it and you can unlock the phone with a single hand without too much effort. The other new feature of the Galaxy S5 is its heart rate monitor. It's the first time we see such a scanner in a smartphone. It requires you to put your finger on it so that it can beam up infrared light and monitor the change in the resulting reflections to come with a reading of your pulse. Our experience shows that it gets it right, but it requires some patience. You need to be silent when you measure your pulse and wait for a few seconds for a correct result. The Galaxy S5 comes with a 5.1-inch display just faintly larger than the 5-inch screen of the Galaxy S4. The resolution on both is 1080 by 920 pixels and both screens look very sharp. Both use Super AMOLED technology, but in the S5 we have some big improvements to brightness and power efficiency. Maximum brightness in regular conditions on the S5 has increased by nearly 20%, and that makes it much easier to use outdoors. Not just that, Samsung has also lowered the minimum brightness threshold so that the S5 can get down to very dim 2 nits, which is easier on the eyes when you read at night, and that's great. Speaking of the Galaxy S5, Samsung continues the trend with wild and realistic colors that we saw on the S4. In standard mode, colors on the S5 appear noticeably cold and greenish, and the color temperature hits nearly 8000K, way above the 6500K gold standard. Professional photo mode, colors appear better tempered with slightly colder than perfect color temperature, and still the display gives preference to colder blue and green tonalities, and it's not very accurate, but it's a bit better on the S5 than on the S4. Samsung ships the Galaxy S5 with the latest version of its TouchWiz, running atop the newest Android 4.4 KitKat. The Galaxy S4 has also been updated to Android 4.4 KitKat, and it's also confirmed to get the newest version of TouchWiz. So what's new in this latest TouchWiz on the Galaxy S5? The skin is now more user-friendly, with larger icons, less clutter, and visual cues instead of endless text lists. Core apps like the phone book and text messenger have also received a redesign towards modern looks, and the keyboard experience is almost identical on both devices. Buttons are well spaced and typing is fast and easy. We found virtually no difference between the two in this aspect. The new S Health app is worth a special mention, since it has grown to become a more comprehensive health and fitness hub that stores your daily steps, calories burned, and heart rate measurements. Coming nearly a full year after the S4, the Galaxy S5 is naturally the one with the faster system chip. We will be comparing the Qualcomm versions of the S4 and the S5, but we ought to mention there is also an Exynos based version of both phones shipping mostly in Asian markets. The Galaxy S5 has a Snapdragon 600 chip, while the S5 ships with the newer and faster Snapdragon 801. Both are quad-core Qualcomm chips built on the 28nm node, and both feature 2GB of RAM, but there are some important differences as well. The S5's Snapdragon 801 CPU is clocked at much faster speeds of up to 2.45 GHz against 1.7 GHz on the S4, while the Adreno 330 graphics works at also higher clock speeds. These big differences result in some very obvious real-world advantages that the S5 has in areas like gaming. Now, in terms of internal storage, we have up to, as much as 16 GB on the basic model of the S5 and the S4, and luckily both support expandable storage via microSD cards. You access the web via either Samsung's custom Android browser or via Google's Chrome, both of which come preloaded on the S5 and S4. Samsung's solution has received a visual overhaul with a much nicer interface and has a truly immersive full-screen mode, which is nice. The Galaxy S5 has a very slight advantage over the S4 in page loading and rendering speeds, but it's a difference most users would hardly notice. Scrolling and zooming around on both devices is smooth and lag-free, and that's what's important. In terms of connectivity, both Galaxies come with the 4G LTE support, but the S5 supports higher download speeds of up to 150 megabits per second, while the S4 maxes out at 100 Mbps. Other connectivity options like dual-channel Wi-Fi, Bluetooth 4.0, GPS, an infrared beamer, and NFC are on board on both devices. The Galaxy S5 comes with a brand new 16-megapixel ISOCELL camera that is a step up over the 13-megapixel shooter in last year's Galaxy S4 in practically every aspect. The sensor on the S5 is nearly 20% larger than the one in the S4, and it's important to notice that after years of reliance on Sony camera image sensors, this year Samsung ships the S5 with its own in-house Samsung sensor. The ISOCELL name of it refers to how Samsung isolates each of the pixels in the camera sensor so that light captured by each pixel does not leak out in adjacent cells. In addition to that, Samsung is also using face detection technology for faster autofocus, a technology that has its roots in the DSLR world and is really fast. The camera app on the S5 has also been modernized, and it's now much easier to use with all menus just 1 or 2 taps away. You can control most settings manually, things like ISO, white balance exposure, metering, and effects. So how does the new 16-megapixel ISOCELL camera perform in real life? The Galaxy S5 captures pleasing images with vivid color, rich dynamics, and more fine detail than the S4. Colors are a bit overblown on the S5, just enough to add some artificial extra pop to an image, but not too much as to make it look unreal. The new Galaxy also exposes images better. In identical conditions, the S4 often overexposes and blows the whites, while the S5 keeps a better balanced image. The S5 also has some tricks up its sleeve with shooting modes like selective focus that allows you to readjust the focus of an image to either the foreground or the background after you've captured it. In terms of video, the Galaxy S5 can now record 4K footage at 30 frames per second, while the S4 maxed out at 1080p at the same frame rate. Comparing apples to apples, or in our case 1080p video recording, we can say that footage from both appears smooth and pleasing. The difference is in the actual appearance of those recordings. Just as in images, the S5 captures the more vibrant, dynamic picture, while the S4 is a bit more toned down. One neat feature the Galaxy S5 camera has is HDR video recording with live preview of what's captured, and sound recording in video is also audibly cleaner on the Galaxy S5. The S5 and S4 both sport a 2-megapixel front-facing camera that gets the job done when you need it for the occasional selfie or video chat, but not much more than that. Smartphones have become as much about calling as they are about media consumption nowadays, and the Galaxy S5 and S4 are in the forefront of that trend. The S5 is a tad bit more advanced with features like 4K video playback, and with its larger and brighter display, it's got the upper hand for video. Both the S5 and S4 feature Samsung's own music app in addition to Google's Play Music. Samsung's multifaceted music player has gotten fresh new looks, and it looks beautiful with large, beautiful album art and more advanced options like an equalizer with presets. Neither the Galaxy S5 nor the S4 feature stereo speakers, but the single speaker on the S5 is surprisingly powerful and loud, great for music lovers. We were not perfectly happy with call quality on the Galaxy S4 as it sounds sufficiently loud in the earpiece, but the quality of transmitted sound leaves room for improvement. In the Galaxy S5, Samsung makes some of those improvements, but a lot of the issues remain. The earpiece in the S5 is loud enough but voices sound a bit muffled, and on the other end of the line callers reported hearing our voice loudly, but there was a slight hiss and high frequencies often appeared too loud, and summing it all up, we can just say that call quality on the S5 hovers around average. The Galaxy S5 comes with a 2800 mAh battery, slightly larger than the 2600 mAh juicer on the Galaxy S4. Despite its small change in battery capacity, you can expect some very noticeable gains in perceived battery life on the S5. While heavier users should still expect to go to the charger every night, scarcer usage of the S5 might keep the phone running up to 2 or 3 days on a single charge. The Galaxy S5 also gets a neat ultra power saving mode that can be enabled via the notification drop-down when your battery is in the red. And with draconian measures like changing colors to grayscale, turning off mobile data, GPS and location services, it can extend your battery life to up to 24 hours of standby usage from just 10% battery juice remaining, something that's really impressive. And good news is that the batteries on both the S5 and the S4 are both user removable, easy to replace. All it takes is to get the battery, is to just peel off the back cover. With all this in mind, it's time for a wrap-up. Which one is the better device, the S5 or the S4? Now, when speaking about the better device, we ought to say that the S4 has dropped down in price significantly since its launch, and now you can find it for around $400–450 off contract, and it's dropped on contract to free or just $100, pretty cheap. And the S5 comes with that higher price tag as it's the newer device, of course, but it's also superior than the S4 in almost every aspect. It's a gradual update, brings gradual improvements in almost all features. It's not a radical upgrade, but still it's better in every aspect. The camera shoots better pictures, the processor is faster, zippier, the fingerprint monitor is a nice touch that adds some interesting functionality, although it might not be perfect just yet, but it works fairly good, and the heart rate monitor is also a feature that some might find useful. Most importantly, the Samsung has managed to make some important progress in the display of the S5, and it's now brighter and more pleasing to view. So overall, if you're not concerned with budget, of course pick the S5. If you're looking to upgrade, you might still find the S4 to hold its own fairly well. For a more detailed comparison, feel free to go to phonearena.com. Thanks for watching.